Hi there. Today we're going to talk about how a school or an academic trust can get a sponsorship license and use that sponsorship license to bring teachers from overseas. There are a couple of ways which you can get your sponsorship license. You can apply yourself or you can get a solicitor to apply for you. Can I suggest that you use a solicitor, even though it costs you a little bit more than if you do it yourself, but the intricacies of actually applying and the complexities involved in dealing with the Home Office may require you to actually use a qualified solicitor. So we have a solicitor that we use who has 100% success record at the moment. So this is where we start. This is the first thing that needs to happen. You need to make an application to the Home Office requiring them to give you or grant you a sponsorship license. And that sponsorship license will cost between £536, that's the Home Office cost, not the solicitor's cost. Solicitor's cost is around £1,500. Well, I've seen costs ranging from £1,500 to £2,500, but our solicitor will charge £1,500. All right, so solicitor's fees £1,500, then the Home Office fees for the single sponsorship license is either £536 if you are a small organization, which means that your annual income is under 10 million and your assets is under 50 million, then you would pay only £536 for that single sponsorship license. And I'm going to talk about that in a moment. Okay? Or you will be paying £1,476 if you are above the threshold that I mentioned. All right, so let's circle back for a moment. Now, if you are a trust, meaning a group of schools together, you only pay for one single sponsorship license. That's just an overall license. We're going to talk about the certificate of sponsorship in a moment, but just focus on getting the license because you need that license before you can do anything else. If you don't have a sponsorship license, you cannot bring anybody from overseas, okay? So, you need to pay the £536 if you are a small organization, or if you are a larger organization, you would pay £1,476 once. That fee is a one-off. Okay. The next point to make is that it takes around 8 weeks for you to get a response back from the Home Office. However, the Home Office, at the time of recording this, does have a fast-track system if you pay an additional £500 to get your license. So you will get your license in 10 days instead of 8 weeks. All right. That's the first thing you need to do. If you're using a solicitor will apply for you, request from you the relevant documents, they'll send that document with the application to the Home Office, you'll get your license within 8 weeks. All right, next. The second important part of all this is your allocations. Now, to allocate means that before the allocations or the number of certificates of sponsorship that you can issue, you could request for it at the time of application, but at the time of recording this, that's changed. So you have to get your license first, then you request for allocations. All right, let's come to it for a moment. When I say apply for license, then request for allocations, it means that for you to start issuing licenses to individual teachers, you need to request the Home Office to give you a specific number of licenses, if you like, that you can allocate. And you can apply for defined, which is licenses that can bring people from overseas countries, or undefined, which is licenses that you can issue for people who are already in the UK. So you can apply for defined and undefined licenses. But to make that application at the time of recording this, you need to have actual names and details of each of the candidates you are thinking of employing. Now, just because you send their names and their passport details and their address and their phone number to the Home Office does not mean that you cannot change your mind. You could supply Home Office with the details of someone, and you may choose to change and allocate that certificate to someone else. So don't think that you are stuck with the person that you've sent the details to the Home Office, because you are not. You can always change that. You can substitute that. All right. So that's the second step that you need to make. First step, you apply for the license. Once you receive the license, then you apply for the number of defined allocations you want, or the number of undefined allocations you want. Like I said, you need to send actual details to the Home Office for you to be able to obtain those. And you don't pay for that. That doesn't cost you any money, apart from if a solicitor is applying for you. Obviously it costs you money, but most people can actually make the applications themselves. But again, if you have a friendly solicitor, maybe they might do it for you without charging you that much. All right. The third thing that needs to happen, and by the way, if you do not have the candidate's details, School of Social Sustainability can help you with that. We can supply you with the details of people who are willing and are looking for jobs, so you can use their details to actually send to the Home Office. It doesn't mean that you have to employ all of them, but if you do, that would be good for us. But you can use the details for your allocations. Okay, because they're credible candidates who are looking for jobs. All right, so the next thing is, whilst all this is going on, whilst you have made your allocations to the Home Office, you can actually start interviewing some of the candidates. You don't need to wait for you to receive your allocations before you interview, because you kind of want this to be happening right after you receive the allocations. You want to be able to issue the licenses we're going to come up to in a moment. So I would suggest that whilst you are waiting for the allocations, which can take anything from a few days to 2 or 3 weeks, okay? At the time of recording this, it was taking about 2 or 3 weeks for the Home Office to respond and supply us with the number of allocations necessary for the issuing of certificate of sponsorship. So, like I said, we can supply you with candidates that are looking for work, verified candidates, so that you can interview them. All right. The next step, number 4, is to then choose, haven't done your interviews, then you can choose those people that you are going to employ. Once you have selected someone to employ, then you issue, and you've received your allocations, of course, then you can issue them with a certificate of sponsorship. You issue them with a certificate of sponsorship that is generated on the portal that the Home Office will give you access to. So once you receive your license, that license will come with a password to a portal that is run by the Home Office, which you can access. And I think at the time of recording this anyway, only 2 people can have access to that portal on your behalf, or that is 2 people from one organization. So that's you and someone else. All right. So going forward, once you have the license, you've requested the allocations, you've done the interviews, you're now going to be selecting those that you want to employ. If they are abroad, or even if they're in the UK, as long as they do not have a work permit and they require sponsorship, you need to issue them with a certificate of sponsorship. Without a certificate of sponsorship, they cannot extend their visa, change their visa, or even get a visa. So that certificate of sponsorship is ties in with the allocations and ties in with your original sponsorship license. It is because you have a sponsorship license that you can issue certificate of sponsorship. And that certificate of sponsorship is issued to each individual teacher that you want to employ. Let's talk about the cost. The cost of each license is £199 for each teacher. Plus, you would pay what's called the ISC, which is Immigration Skill Charge, of £364 if you're a small organization, meaning your income is less than 10 million, you have less than 50 million worth of assets, and you employ less than 50 people. If you're a small school, you would pay £364 a year for the number of years you are going to employ the candidate. So if you employ the candidate for 3 years, or you're issuing them with a certificate of sponsorship for 3 years, or then it will be 364 times 3 years. If you're extending it for 5 years, then it will be 365 times 5 years. If you're a large organization and you're employing them for 3 years, it will be £3,000, which is £1,000 times the number of years. Okay, and if it's for 5 years, is £5,000 for the number of years for the 5 years, which is £1,000 times 5. However, for you to receive and be able to pass on to the teacher, whether they're here or overseas, the certificate of sponsorship, you can print that once you've made this payment on the portal. You make this payment on the portal, you don't pay to anyone, you pay to the Home Office on that portal, and you can print out your certificate of sponsorship immediately. So apologies that 5 is covering the duration, but the duration is actually immediate.